All right, over the last 24 hours, I've been very, very tired. I'm sleeping like a log. And I don't want to get up in the morning. I'm so exhausted. Now what happens when that starts to kick in? I'm getting into a new download, so to speak. And something that you've got to take in baby steps. So I'm taking a few steps and a little bit ahead of you. So questions that I've got to answer. I just watched a few of Leonard. He's saying exactly what I want him to say. So I'm going to play a few of them, and maybe we can ask questions back and forwards and get your input on this, because I've been doing another PowerPoint. Measuring the Earth, you know what I do. Going back and forwards through Google Earth and MapSend and MapSend Lite and Magellan. Proving the deception. When you do find out by measuring, you know, I did that series of measurings the other day that come up with the card number. Right? So we go to the bank, we film it, upload it, that this is what the beast gave us with that number in it, recognising me as the Nazarene, Albert Einstein Club. And we got that. Of course, we've told some women there, and now we've had this miraculous experience with Peter, where clay feet just come up looking for us and sleeping on the beach in the rain, right? Because he wasn't smart enough to get the address before he left, bloody Nembit, right? So we can't find us. Like we're 18 kilometres away or whatever it is. But you spot on Gumtree the ad that Peter had put up. So tell your story. Let's listen to it while I'm preparing us for our Minajad.
My computer wasn't working, and in frustration, I went to Gumtree again. I checked almost daily just to see what's been uploaded, if there's anything that we need. So I'm looking for a new computer just because it's irritating me so much. And scrolling through, on about the third page of Gumtree, I find an advertisement. Computer repair. Is your computer going slow? $39 maximum charge to clean up the computer, spring clean it and get it working, going fast again. So I called, and Peter called back immediately, and we took the computer around that afternoon. And yeah, no, the first meeting of Peter was quite funny. A very, very likable man from the beginning. A good man, a real man, you can tell from the beginning. And of course the mannequin in the... Anyway, we left the computer with Peter, and he would be finished in a day or two. He didn't have time to talk with us, but we planted enough seed with him that interest was piqued. He heard truth from our mouths that he hadn't heard before, and he wanted to hear more. So he let us know, when we come back, I want to hear more of what you have to tell me. So 2 days later, or 3 days later, we go back to get the computer, and we start talking and downloading truth, as we do. Yahweh starts talking about how he measures the earth and his royal bloodline and all of the things that God talks about. And I'm egging on, of course, putting in my bits and pieces. And I think I end up saying to him that, in case you haven't got it, he is the returned Christ, Yahweh. And when I said Yahweh, he goes, Yahweh? He says, wait on, there was a fella. I heard that name for the first time a few months ago when I was in at the RSL, this man there. He kept talking about Yahweh, saying that he was in Yahweh. He was in Harvey Bay looking for Yahweh. And that Yahweh is God and he's in Harvey Bay and I'm trying to find him. He'd been sleeping on the beach. And this man took a hold of Peter's hands and looked him in the eyes and shook him and said, you're a good man. And Peter said that he could feel the Spirit moving through him to confirm that he was also talking to a good man, although he acknowledged that he was a little bit touched.
Obsessed.
Well, the way... Anyway, bottom line is, Peter invited...
were absolutely 100%.
Oh, absolutely. But Peter invited this man home to give him a bed for the night and to look after him because he'd been sleeping on the beach. And then I said to him, what was the man's name? And he's trying to think of something, Clay, something. I said, Clay Feet? He says, that's it. He called himself Clay Feet. I said, well, that's Clayton. We christened him Clay Feet. And he says, that's it, Clay Feet. And then he continued to tell us of what happened that night when Clay Feet came home and stayed the night. Of course, the devil that is resident in Peter's life wanted to evict Clay Feet, having no heart or compassion for a man who is without a bed. She wanted him out of there, and Peter stood up to her. She had a lot to drink, and he stood up to her, and the result of it was that she called the police. So Peter actually got taken away to the local police station that night, and after he explained to the sergeant what had happened, and his partner was getting angry and he had to put her in his place, otherwise it meant that Clay Feet would be out on the street, and he was not going to have that happen. So that was the night in Peter's life that he first heard the name Yahweh. Of course, here we are, we're in his life, he's fixing our computer for us. Well, he had no trouble believing, and of course he is a saint and a very good man. He's a real man, and we look forward to him. Well, he's already joined our company in spirit, and I dare say it won't be too long before the devil is evicted from his life.
Well, I think I'm on my 33rd computer, and this last one we got, I can hardly pick it up. So what's in it?
Right.
You pull the weight of it. I couldn't let you carry it from the car.
No, well, I haven't tried to pick it up.
I could put the scale under it and see what it weighs.
There we go. We've got one of those.
We'll do that later.
Okay.
So now,
all right.
I, of course, got to reprimand everybody, except Iran. They're perfect. And Mahmoud is saying exactly what I was saying.
What you would say, yes.
He's saying, well, let him say it himself.
And of course, I've just noticed that they've been set up big time. They've been targeted. Internal unrest the last few days, all brought about by a currency dive. But and we know
they own all the oil. Who gives a damn? Now it's got a Chinaman. A bit of a colour.
quite ugly. This has very little or nothing to do with freedom and freedom of speech. This is the weakness of the degrees of freedom.
Mm. Finished.
Here's the mouse. You pick another one. And just see and
Better put my glasses on.
these two. Now they're all about a minute 40 long. Now the minute 40, of course, is a code. We start at 100, right? Right.
In terms of Syria, Syria is a huge flashpoint at the moment in the Middle East. There is a belief that a lot of the Assad military are using weapons they've got from Iran. Is that true? And how long will you continue to support Assad, given the appalling
To make a choice,
conditions,
one
the
for you.
humanitarian catastrophe that we are all watching? At what point do you, the President of Iran, say, enough of this
The
violence?
rising high had Don Nixon
I do believe that we must all say enough of this violence. Right
from the
now,
Lord.
6 months ago, I said enough of this violence. Our opinion vis-a-vis the issue of Syria and other nations is completely clear. We do believe that
To rise in various
the right to
applications, accomplished.
the right to vote,
Clear, confirm,
respect,
continue,
and
agree.
justice is the fundamental right of all people.
He's doing exactly what
All
I...
people must obtain these rights.
He is doing this in the
No
name
one
of Jesus.
Yes,
has the right to
absolutely.
And
restrict
he's got it right.
a people and nation.
Well,
But we believe, as a friend
Real
of
men,
nations, we
good
must
men,
help
true women are
the
on the same
nations around
page.
the world to
You know what
obtain
this
these rights through
It's
peaceful path.
the Spirit of God.
Breaking through, he is Jesus.
And we have worked hard.
Because I
I
approve
am
him.
now part of work to organize a
Nominated.
contact group in
You want
order
Jesus to
to
do?
bring the two sides
There you go.
into a point of national agreement.
But Mr. President, do you condemn
But
the level of violence
already-
that President Assad has brought against
the
our
Mahdi.
people? Because he has
He's
been
the Mahdi.
slaughtering tens
He's the
of
Mahdi,
thousands
Dave.
of
He's the
Syrians.
one that he's waiting for to come. He doesn't realise it's him because he's
You believe
Muhammad.
that fundamentally someone's right to
He's Muhammad.
protest. This violence has to stop. Have you told President Assad it has to stop?
I am stating my opinion quite clearly. I cannot interfere in the internal matters of Syria, but I can announce my opinion.
29:27.
And we are seeking an understanding. Some have been working hard to supply weapons to the opposition. The government is also equipped to enter this conflict, and based on the foundation that some pursue to resolve issues through military intervention, we completely oppose that doctrine and thought and way of doing things. We do believe that things must be resolved through dialogue without any outsiders' interference. Many encourage these clashes. Many, and even I as a nation or myself as a president, I said to many countries directly that you are encouraging these clashes. That government is an independent government and it will defend itself. They did not accept this. Some furnished weapons, and when clashes start, no one displays any mercy. They kill, the other side kills in return, and it never stops.
Is Iran selling weapons to the Syrian government? And if it's not selling weapons, are you aware of Iranian weapons being given to the Syrian government?
I believe that there are many ahead of a line in supplying weapons to sites and we would never reach our turn. And it's quite clear who those individuals are, who those countries are.
Were you pleased that Osama bin Laden was killed by American Navy SEALs on the instructions of President Obama?
I would have been happier to see a transparent trial, a formal trial, and find out the root causes of all of the events of the last few years.
You have been reported as saying that you believe it is possible that the American government were partly responsible for the events of 9/11. That caused a huge outrage. Do you stand by that position?
Of course, the polls taken inside the United States showed that over 75% of the United States population are still somewhat nebulous about the real reason of that event, of those events. What I said were a number of questions. An event has occurred. Due to that, 2 countries have been occupied. And the conflict still continues. Every day, hundreds of people in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Iraq are killed. Would it not have been better to have a more precise analysis and find out the true, in-depth reason of the events of September 11th? Make those findings transparent to the populations and the nations across the world, and then have a response in unison. Of course, the expense would have been much less. Do you know how much has been spent during the Afghan and Iraq war?
A considerable amount of money, but let me ask you this, Mr. President. If nearly 3,000 of Iranians had been murdered in the way that Americans were on 9/11 in Tehran, how would you have reacted to the country that you believe had done that?
So you're saying that the country of Afghanistan was at fault, was responsible? So you're seeing the responsible party as a whole nation?
I think it is inarguable that Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden's men that worked for him were training in Afghanistan. So Afghanistan was certainly knowingly harboring terrorists who were training to commit atrocities.
I believe that you can, under no circumstances, justify the condemnation and the attack upon a country in order to reach a single terrorist group. And I do believe that no matter how long you and I or other people speak, this is unexplainable. Allow me to ask you, do you believe that the various administrations of the United States were successful in eradicating terrorism? They haven't been. Has the problem been resolved, or has it gotten worse?
Well, it's hard to say. I think the approach was right. My answer would be, clearly it has been partially successful in the sense that Al-Qaeda has been unable to commit another attack of that magnitude since. And again, I come back to, if you were the president of Iran and that attack happened in Tehran, it wouldn't have been acceptable to your people for you to do nothing.
Not at all. Surely we would have pursued the perpetrators, not to seek an entire nation. But I ask you this, during the last 10 years, during the last decade, how many American forces were lost and killed in Afghanistan and Iraq? Even today, Even right now, they're still losing their lives. Has the situation improved? Clearly not. How can you say that it has improved? Now the activities of the terrorists have trespassed into the borders of Pakistan. In Iraq and Afghanistan, over 1 million people have been killed or injured. We are incredibly saddened that over 3,000 people were killed in the United States. The Iranian government immediately condemned those brutal attacks. And I told you, we are against even the killing of one individual. Why should human lives be taken, innocent humans, anywhere in the world? But in order to avenge the blood of 3,000 people, 1 million people shouldn't give their lives. Some of the behaviors of the United States in our region encourages extremism. Perhaps because they don't know the people. So they do need to reform their behavior. There was no need for 5,000 or 6,000 U.S. young men and women to lose their lives.
Coming up, President Ahmadinejad's provocative opinions on Israel. He tells us what he really meant when he called for the country to be wiped off the map. And more of our exclusive interview.
Who does it sound like? Except better.
Except who?
Better.
Better. Oh.
He says it's better than I could say it.
Yeah, he does. And so did Hitler. Expressing your sentiments, but
Exactly.
these are orators, both of them.
That's right.
That's their, you do what you do best, babe. Measure.
That's the man, Muhammad. I'm doing a little bit in the PowerPoint with Muhammad in it.
Yeah.
Muhammad in it, Jack.
Yeah. Yeah, Muhammad in it.
Muhammad in it.
Muhammad in it. Good. Okay. Well, here, do you want to turn this around and you be on the
Receiving it.
receiving end? I'll make you a cup of tea. Cup of tea?
Alrighty, let's see. Yep. That's me. So I got to pick one, have I?
I already have it up there. This is the one we're going to be talking about.
Well, I just started.
Yeah.
In what may have been a preview of his speech to the General Assembly on Wednesday, President Ahmadinejad criticised Israel today. Speaking to reporters, he said the nation has, quote, no roots in the Middle East. It's also contentious when we discuss Israeli-Palestinian relations.
This guy's a Jew.
Let me say, Mr. President, if I may, to Israel. You have been condemned very vociferously in America for a comment you are said to have made that you wanted Israel to be wiped off the map, wiped off the face of the earth. There have been many different interpretations of what you said. You have disputed the meaning that was then translated from the
I'm saying wipe them off the face of the earth.
Opportunity.
He's saying what I'm
To say
saying.
exactly what you did say. And to
This
say
is what we
exactly
did. We
what
went
you
in to
did.
build the pyramids, right? Got rid of all the devil worship. Everything, gone.
We have been condemned in the United States for many things. For having deposed a dictator with a revolution. For having sought freedom and free elections. For not allowing our oil and national treasure to leave our country freely. For having stood up to very dangerous terrorists in the region. For having stood up against Saddam Hussein, who enjoyed the backing of many. We stood up against him and did not allow the occupation of our territory. We've been condemned for a great many things. Because we said justice for all, the rule of law for all, the right of peaceful nuclear energy for all.
Do you want, Mr. President,
Allow me, sir. Allow me.
The question wasn't any of that. The question was, do you believe that Israel should...
But I will get to that answer.
Well, please,
Don't be
if I
such a
may
bird.
repeat it quickly. Should Israel be wiped off the face of the map? Is that your desire?
If a group comes and occupies the United States of America, destroys homes while women and children are in those homes, incarcerate the youth of America, impose 5 different wars on many neighbors, and always threaten others, what would you do? What would you say? Would you help it? Would you help that entity? Or would you help the people of the United States? So, when we say to be white, we say for occupation to be wiped off from this world, for war-seeking to be wiped off and eradicated, the killing of women and children to be eradicated, and we propose the way. We propose the path. The path is to recognize the right of the Palestinians to self-governance. Allow the people of Palestine to make decisions regarding their own future. Imagine one day in Palestine, there is no longer occupation. Occupation no longer exists in Palestine. What else would there remain?
Do you believe in a two-state solution?
About the decision of the people of Palestine, I cannot express an opinion. That is their prerogative. But the people of Palestine must be allowed by everyone and helped by everyone to allow them, to give them the right to choose for themselves, to choose their own future.
If they agree, Mr. President, if the Palestinians agreed a deal with the Israelis, which recognized a two-state solution, would you then recognize the state of Israel? If the state of Palestine was accepted by the international community, would you accept a two-state solution?
But before that, allow me to say something. I believe what is our common responsibility, all of humanity, must help to end and eradicate occupation. Bullying, eradicate bullying. No longer impose or meddle in the internal affairs of anyone. There are about 10 million. There is a 10 million strong Palestinian population. We cannot impose the will on them, allow them to choose for themselves. Whatever their choice is, we cannot express or impose our opinion on them. But it's important for occupation to come to an end, for allowing occupation to come to an end, so that the people of Palestine can have the right to self-determination.
I understand it, but if the Palestinians were to reach a deal, but I'm assuming there is a deal. If they agree a peace settlement, would you, as President of Iran, recognize the state of Israel? Because that would be a very significant contribution to the peace settlement if you did.
I think there are many choices in question here. You seem to prefer only one choice, only one avenue, and want to ask me my opinion on that. I do believe that as a human being and as a political figure, prior to speaking about the construct of government, I must speak of the fundamental rights of the people. I say we must give the free right of choice and self-determination to the people of Palestine. This is a much higher value, of much higher value than what you are intent in hearing. We recognize that as legitimate all nations. Allow occupation to come to an end. Allow the Palestinians to be released from incarceration. Allow the people of Palestine to sit down at the table of collaboration and make their own decision. And you should respect that decision, and we should do that as well. Any decision they make for their own land, for their own country, not for others.
Would you prefer?
I don't want to sit here and make a decision for them. Whatever decision they make, we respect.
Coming up, things get pretty heated when I push President Ahmadinejad to suspend his views on the Holocaust. More by exclusive interview.
What a wonderful man. Yeah, on the Holocaust. Now, you tell me if this is not me
My
talking.
exclusive interview with the Iranian president, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. When it comes to asking him questions, there's no such thing as an easy answer, especially when it comes to the Holocaust. Do you believe that the Holocaust happened? Because many Jews believe that you do not think it happened, and they have a view of you because of that.
The historic event that you spoke of, I have two questions. I had two questions for quite some time, never received an answer to either one. Everywhere they allow a certain amount of research of looking into historical events. Whenever there are obstacles placed on this path, then a question mark or two will arise. Why such obstacles?
What are the questions that you have about the Holocaust?
Just why in Europe has it been forbidden for anyone to conduct any research about this event? Why are researchers in prison?
There's been extensive research into the Holocaust. It is indisputable that over 6 million Jews were annihilated by Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. The question is, do you dispute that 6 million Jews were killed?
Do you believe in the freedom of thought and ideas or no?
I believe in facts.
And the freedom of research, do you believe in that and allow that or no?
I believe in all that.
2 times 2 equals what?
Mr. President, that's
Two
not
times
the
two
question
equals
I'm asking you. I'm asking you whether you believe, you're a scholar, you're a very intelligent man, do you believe that 6 million Jews were annihilated by Adolf Hitler and the Nazis? Do you believe that as a fact?
You pose a question and are willing to only hear what you want me to
It's
say.
a simple answer.
Do you want my answer or the answer that you want me to give?
I want you to
Your
give me an
opinion
honest
is
yes
quite
or no.
clear.
You either believe it or you don't.
Your answer and your thoughts seem to be quite clear on the topic. Why do you wish to impose your
I
own
believe it
opinion on
is
me?
an inarguable fact that 6 million Jews were killed in the war by Adolf Hitler and Nazis. I'm merely asking you, as a president of Iran and as a scholar, do you believe that 6 million Jews were killed by the Nazis?
Absolutely not.
Or do you think that is not true?
So in other words, I must accept the premise of your question in order to give you the answer? That's a dictatorship.
No, you either believe 6 million Jews were killed or you don't.
You asked me a question.
But
Are you
trying
trying to
yes or no?
impose
Yes, I
your
believe it.
ideas?
No, I don't. I'm not imposing any ideas.
Allow me, sir.
I'm
Allow
not
me,
imposing
sir.
any ideas.
So, you see, what you're doing is you're seeking a response based on my thoughts. Why do you even care what the origin of my thoughts are? The result of the events of the Second World War led to the occupation of a territory.
Important to clarify. The reason I care is because part of your reputation in America, the damage to your reputation amongst Americans, is because they believe that you questioned the validity of the Holocaust. So I'm simply asking you...
It's the greatest con, the greatest Ponzi of all time.
Whether you believe over 6 million Jews were killed by the Nazis in the
What's
war.
it called? Resurrection
And
racket.
the answer is either yes or no.
Retrobation. Well, let's get some retrobation going their way,
Thank you
right?
for caring so much about me.
What's that one? Every knee shall bow.
It is commonplace for an interviewer to pose a question and wait for the proper response to be completed. If you want to interrupting me, it's not an issue. It's your show. Here you are, and there's the camera. Speak your heart's
Give me
content.
my impertinence. I will allow you to answer in any way you see fit.
You must not insist on receiving what you see as the proper answer.
Yes, here we go. Isaiah
I
45:23.
have no judgment about historic events. I say researchers and scholars must be free to conduct research and analysis about any historical event and have contrary opinions proven.
Right.
Oh, you don't want to, do you?
Top it up with milk.
Oh, okay.
That's fine, just like that, yes.
Just like that? Okay.
Beautiful. This will be the best piece of cake I've had today. After the other one. All right, the eloquence of his speech, and he makes such a fool out of the questioner who was a Jew, a Zionist. He's an agent for the devil.
Bought and paid for, yeah.
And just sails through there like he's on a skateboard.
Yeah. I was asking, well, the official Red Cross figures are 273,000 died throughout all of the camps, throughout all the course of the war. And they died through
natural causes.
Starvation.
Yeah, typhus and
As
starvation.
all of Germany was starving. So where are the 6 million?
And who caused the starvation?
Well,
England.
England, as they do every nation.
And how many people they killed in, what, 20 minutes in Dresden? 40,000?
40,000. The official death toll for Dresden is up around over 135,000. That's what David Irving's been able to confirm. And the total peoples that died throughout the war was 10 million Germans. 10 million German soldiers and civilians killed. And it only became popular, of course, the word Holocaust is a Jewish.
Well, it's an invented word.
It's an invented word, sacrifice by fire, and it's been proven over and over and over. It's been, let's see.
Satanic.
David Irving's first trial was during the early 80s, and he had all of the evidence there brought on by expert witnesses who operated crematoriums and ovens, and they proved absolutely beyond the shadow of a doubt that it's totally impossible to have cremated, to have burned that many bodies. All of the records demonstrate that the coke required to run the ovens didn't even exist.
And the cyanide that was used there was to cleanse the clothing of lice.
Yeah, the showers that they went through were to kill the lice.
And they did it in the shower rooms.
Yeah.
Because then they washed them afterwards.
The records are that there are 50,000 Holocaust survivors, as they call them, as their words, released from the camps who have been interviewed over the years, all on record. It is in a library of each, and the majority of them, there are those that have been released recently, where they tell of the time that they had, the friends that they made. They have reunions each year in whatever part of the world to reminisce of their time in the camp. They had music, they had plays, they had libraries, they had dining rooms with white tablecloths and silverware. The last thing that the Germans were going to build for them before they were released from the camps was their own movie theatre. It actually did come to fruition, as there were a couple of movies, like German documentaries, before they were released. There was a movement of hundreds of thousands of them between the camps as they were moved out into other areas and released to go. In Israel themselves, they had for years boats arriving with containers loaded full of the household furnishings of the Jews who left Europe to go back to Israel, and they had Cadillacs, they had pianos, they had the furnishings of the best kind, they had everything whereas the struggling countries that they left, the people that they left behind didn't have the furnishings and the quality of furnishings that the Jews did, who ended up back in Israel. So Hitler made every accommodation to ship them out of Germany, and he kept them in the camp in a place of safety because Germany was having the hell bombed out of it by the Allies. Thank you, Britain and the USA.
So the 5 camps are in the shape of a pentagon.
They had swimming pools, tennis courts,
Oh,
they
no,
used to play soccer and sport to keep themselves fit. They had canteens, and when Germany had provision, there was provision in the canteens. They had their own currencies. But the fact of the matter is that all of Germany was starving, and so the people who died in the camp died from either typhus or starvation. That's why the hundreds of thousands that were released were so very, very, very skinny, alive but skinny, as was the rest of Germany.
So the reality was, if you're going to kill them, they wouldn't have a chance to get skinny.
Yeah, that's right.
They'd be
Well,
burn
why
them
waste
straight
all
away,
that
right?
food? Why waste all that food when Germany's
That's right.
starving? Absolute lies. It's the scam. It's what the Jews do. The Zionists.
So if you do believe in the Holocaust, you're out of here. Is that what the idea is?
Absolutely. If you do believe in the Holocaust, then you're a fuckwit. Because the evidence is not there. And you have bought the lies of those that want to kill you. The synagogue of Satan.
This should not have
hosted by
led
the
to
British
setting up of
Empire.
new confines and borderlines throughout the world and classify someone's good, someone's bad. Why should a researcher...
You're getting a bit scary
One
then.
question. Question number 2. Let's assume...
That's the way I would have
is
answered
right.
it.
Your question is right. Your assumption is that this event took place. Where did it take place? Who were the individuals responsible for this event? What does this have to do with the occupation of Palestine? What role did the people of Palestine play in this event? These are very clear and transparent questions, sir. The third question I have. If a historical event has indeed taken place, why so much sensitivity surrounding it by politicians?
If I may,
But this has already come and gone.
let me move on.
Done deal.
Time is short. Let me move on.
Everyone knows
Time is short.
the
Prime
answer to these
Minister
questions.
Netanyahu has been making it very clear that he believes Iran is developing uranium now with the specific purpose not to help people with cancer, as he would say, but to have a nuclear weapon. And he is also indicating that, that Israel may take some preemptive strike against Iran.
Now we all know what a man of intelligence Bibi is. Having my little rave here, we all know what a man of extreme intelligence Bibi is. After his little demonstration there with the bomb, the Acme bomb in the United Nations, you know, that is the best thing he could have done for all mankind, is to illustrate his absolute fuckwit stupidity. As I think it was Mahmoud said, how childish. But it just demonstrated exactly who it is. I read an article about the Samson option. It's all written up there in Wikipedia. That's all controlled by Israel. They are the editors of it to make sure that you're getting the balanced story on world events. You can see that little upload there on Joel's channel as well. Now, the Samson option, sponsored by Ariel Sharon, the skeleton that's been kept alive by the leaders of Israel. His soul is already in hell. The Samson option, that is Samson. What did Samson do? The biblical Samson pushed the 2 columns and brought down the entire stadium upon himself.
So we just cut their locks off.
This was when they grew back. It was Delilah who cut his locks off.
Right,
He grew
I'm talking
weak.
about
They
all his
put
rabbis
eyes
with the
out.
long locks.
That's right.
Cut them all
Now,
off.
listen. So, Israel's attitude is they've got about 400 nuclear warheads now. If anybody strikes them, then they have nuclear targets aimed at all of the major cities of Europe and the USA. So their attitude is if anybody strikes them, they will take out the entire world. And in the meantime, that if they behave like rabid dogs, then the world will leave them alone. So That's exactly what Netanyahu is. He is a rabid dog. What did I call him last week? A hyena. What does a hyena do?
They're hermaphrodite, you know.
There you go.
Female
Ariel
penis.
Sharon, who sponsored the Samson auction, read about it in Wikipedia. It'll bring tears to your eyes as you realize, America, what you have been supporting. A horde of rabid dogs whose days are almost over.
So we see in Iran that they have always come to the rescue of the righteous. And they did so with Daniel, therefore allowing the temple to be rebuilt, not of Solomon, but of Yahweh.
Temple of Yahweh built.
But it was delayed by the Pharisees that had got there before them. And a decree had to be found. And the decree is in a small town, which is 107.26 miles.
Kilometres from the...
Or kilometres.
Whichever. From the pyramid. So, it's all rather a ripping yarn. Mahmud is the servant of God. Call him what you like. His name today is Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall. And he's doing a great job. So, the rest of the world had better bow, bended knee. Otherwise, you're out of here. And that includes all of the Holocaust supporters. Okay, that's my judgment day.
Now, where was it?
If Israel does launch a strike against your country,
Still on about it.
Like,
this has been going on
The
all
response
along.
of Iran is...
You did your little speech, right?
To explain that any question and...
It sort of dragged on a bit.
Has the right
And then he started talking about the same thing. Listen how he
My question
answers.
is this: why should the world be managed in such a way that an individual can allow himself to threaten a rich and deeply rooted historical ancient country such as Iran, a great country such as Iran, based on an excuse of his own fabrication? So anyone can do this. Another country can say, I am guessing that country B is doing activity X, therefore I will
do you fear, Mr. President,
attack that country.
Do you fear,
Can this be
understand, but do you
a
fear,
successful formula for the management of the world?
do you fear that war is imminent? Do you fear that there will be military conflict, perhaps even before the end of this year, between your country and Israel?
Of course, the Zionists are very much very adventuresome, very much seeking to fabricate things. I think they see themselves at the end of the line. And I do firmly believe that they seek to create new opportunities for themselves and their adventurous behaviors.
Let me ask you this. There is an American election coming in November. Who do you prefer to win that election, Barack Obama or Mitt Romney? And the reason I ask you is that Mitt Romney has been much more aggressive in the language he has used against your country than Barack Obama has.
I do respect the right to free elections for the people of the United States. This is the right of the people of the United States.
Were you happy with what Mitt Romney said about Iran?
I said that I really don't want to express an opinion, but I do believe that unilateral behaviors and unilateral ways and bullying ways throughout the world are coming to an end. Everyone in the world must embark upon a path of friendship, must seek humanity, human values, and logic. And this is something that will govern the world.
President Ahmadinejad was famous for claiming there are no homosexuals in Iran. When we come back, we'll hear what he told me, and I asked if he believes that people are born gay.
Honey, did you make any gay souls?
Hmm?
Did you make any gay souls?
No. It's all corruption by the Jews. It all stems from the Greek and it's a religion. Public religion.
Yeah.
When people talk of freedom, and I've heard you talk of freedom, they look at Iran and they say that there are still laws banning homosexuality. You have a law that bans single women from going skiing on their own. And they say, what kind of freedom is that if people can't be gay because they were born that way, or they can't go ski?
See?
Can't go skiing on their own.
That's they're saying skiing women on their own, the safety
As a single
reasons.
woman.
Yes,
Shouldn't
exactly.
go
What
on
do you
their
say
own.
to the critics?
Right?
شما چند تا چیز با هم قاطی کردید.
Now you
I
managed
do
to
want to
mix
go on skiing.
a number of things here.
قانون به اسرائیل
For a single lady to go on a trip to go skiing, is that forbidden in Iran? Who has told you that?
It's not forbidden.
من شما میشنوم.
I'm hearing it from you.
It has been widely reported that you brought in a rule that said single women couldn't go skiing. Are you not?
Shouldn't go skiing.
Couldn't go skiing.
It's just city told. He's making it up as he goes along.
I know.
Are telling me they can?
He looks stunned.
Good one, Peter.
شما میشنوم.
I'm hearing it from you, sir, for the very first time.
So to clarify, Mr. President, if a single woman from Iran is watching this interview, she can go skiing on her own.
میبینن خب مشخصه که میبینن.
Of course they see this program because it's broadcast in Iran.
Right, so it is perfectly okay. You are happy
Allow me, sir.
for
Allow
single
me.
women to go
Allow
skiing.
me.
هر جنسیتی بحثی بود.
Homosexuality is a completely different topic.
اینجور حمایت از هر جنس.
This kind of support of homosexuality
He brilliantly answers it. No, well, it's the same thing. You've got to have it drawn like a colour on
is
Netanyahu
already
line.
ingrained in the thoughts of hardcore
Something that
capitalists and
Netanyahu
those
would
who
do,
support
doesn't
the
it?
growth of
Right.
capital
Like the
only rather than human values. According to all prophets and all religions and all faiths, homosexuality is strictly forbidden. It is a very ugly behavior. How can you, in order to obtain 4 or 5 additional votes or to make a party more popular than the other, how can you give support to such behavior? But when I say freedom, allow me, sir, allow me.
Do you believe that homosexual people are they born homosexual or do they become homosexual? What do you believe?
بالاخره تبدیل میشن.
They become. At the end of the day, they do become that way. I'm not seeking the root causes of it, though. You see, the problems that are facing humanity today are much deeper than whether a single lady goes skiing or not. There are many reforms yet to take place. Many reforms.
What an
As
answer.
of yet to be realized. In the United States, 15 million people live in poverty.
We should keep
It's
that
a
as a
very first world
catchphrase.
country.
ایران انسانن.
They're human beings too.
هر یه نفرشون یه انسان.
Each one of them is a complete human being with many hopes and aspirations and dreams. Throughout the world, 1.2 billion people live in utter poverty. Dictatorships do exist. Oppression exists. Denying human dignity exists, unfortunately. All of this must be reformed. Humans must feel like human beings.
When I hear
They
you
must
say this, Mr. President,
feel freedom.
I like you speaking like this. This is great. But shouldn't freedom and individuality and all those things also extend to people
Go back to the-
who just happen to be gay, who were born gay? They weren't made gay. Wouldn't it be great for the President of Iran to say, you know something? Everyone's entitled to be whatever sex you are.
Oh, what slime. Yes.
They are born to be. That would be a great symbol of freedom.
شما کسی از همجنسگرایی به دنیا میاد؟
Do you really believe that someone is born homosexual?
Yes, I absolutely believe that. Yes, I do.
یعنی از طریق هم
I'm sorry, let me ask you this. Do you believe that anyone is given birth to through homosexuality? Homosexuality ceases procreation. Who has said that if you like or believe in doing something ugly and others do not accept your behavior, they're denying your freedom?
You are a
Who
father.
says that?
Mr.
Who says that? Perhaps in a country they wish to legitimize stealing.
You are a father of three. You are a father of three.
For a few percentage of them.
You have 2 sons and a daughter. What would you do if one of them was gay?
These things have different ways. The proper education must be given. The education system must be revamped. The political system must be revamped. And these must be also reformed and revamped along the way. But if a group recognizes an ugly behavior or ugly deed as legitimate, you must not expect other countries or other groups to give it the same recognition. This is an imposition of your will, sir.
How would you feel if one of your children dated a Jew?
I would have to see who that Jewish man or woman would be. I see love amongst people as completely acceptable. There are many Jews living in Iran with whom we're very close. There are some Muslims that marry into Jewish families or marry Christians. We have no such problems.
See, people would be surprised.
This is where my Michelle comes in. I arranged for her to find Jaime in a Jewish guest house in London after he was released from a jail in Morocco on drug charges. And Gabriel had appeared to him and told him that Michelle was the niece
I
of
think
Christ.
none of us should.
He has since changed his story. But he's been on drugs in Australia. He's now mentally lobotomized.
Represent the whole population of the United States. But we believe that color, religion, native tongue, ethnic background should create differences or distances between people, nor should it be the sole reason to bring people closer together. It has always been like this.
When we come back, a question I can promise you Mahmoud Ahmadinejad has never been asked before. Just wait till you hear how he answers it. I ask every guest one question I'm going to ask you, just because I'm amused by your response. How many times in your life, Mr. President, have you been properly in love? I ask every guest one question I'm going to ask you, just because I'm amused by your response. How many times in your life, Mr. President, have you been properly in love?
I'm in love with all of humanity. I love all human beings.
That might be the
But
best
in
answer
particular, I
I've
love
had.
members of my own family, of course, like any other human being.
That's probably the best answer I've had to that question. You can't beat the whole of humanity. Mr. President, thank you for your time.
God bless you. I wish you success.
Thank you, sir. That's all for us tonight. Tomorrow, another leader who's there around the world.
God
I
bless
sit
you,
down
Jim.
with
Wish you
former President Bill
success.
Clinton. Talk about his post-White House mission and about the role he's taken on in President Obama's re-election campaign. That's President Clinton tomorrow night. ACT 60 starts now.
There's lots up there, isn't there?
in the Middle East was the video that was released, which
Look up Piers Morgan, just see where he was born and so
as a
forth.
result, there was an attack, as you know, on the American embassy in Benghazi in Libya. The Ambassador Christopher Stevens was murdered. Do you condemn the attack which caused his murder?
وصولا هذا
Irish.
إيران.
Fundamentally, first of all, any action that is provocative, offends the religious thoughts and feelings of any people, we condemn. Likewise, we condemn any type of extremism. Of course, what took place was ugly. Offending the Holy Prophet is quite ugly. This has very little or nothing to do with freedom and freedom of speech. This is the weakness of and the abuse of freedom. And in many places it is a crime. It shouldn't take place, and I do hope that day will come in which
Irish, Portuguese, Scottish, and
politicians will not
Right.
seek to offend those whom others hold holy or sanctity. But we also believe that this must also be resolved in a humane atmosphere, in a participatory environment, and we do not like anyone losing their lives or being killed for any reason anywhere in the world.
There are protesters all over the Middle East now threatening the staff of American embassies, threatening to kill them, to behead them. Do you think they should stop?
You see, I cannot determine what people or nations should do, but I do think that extremism gives birth to following and subsequent extremism. Perhaps if the politicians take a better position in the West vis-a-vis offensive words or thoughts or pictures towards what we hold holy, I think conditions will improve.
If Israel does launch a strike against your country, what will your response be?
The response of Iran is quite clear. I don't even need to explain that. Any question and any nation has the right and will indeed defend herself. But my question is this: why should the world be managed in such a way that an individual can allow himself to threaten a
This is Hammud meeting all the Jewish rabbis in Iran. These are Jews denouncing Zionism. So Iranian president awarded for helping Jews around the world. Jews denouncing Zionism. Should have the Talmud in there. So what the Persians have always done is been the overseer of what's happening in the Middle East, and then go over and after a period of time, have to invade it and do away with their domination. That's why when they see what Daniel was up to, they authorised the building of a temple in Yahweh and their God. Because it was a righteous thing that they could see. Not necessarily they accepted it as their God. But from their point of view, they saw Daniel as being God, his ruler. The soul Jew here is very, very lovely way of speaking. Genuine.
They're worried. Heartbroken. They're heartbroken.
May this gift be a token of gratitude for the sweetness and love you have extended to Jews and all mankind. On behalf of World Solar Jewry, presented by Surrey Character International, New York. USA. The President is of the world leader who is exemplary in his comprehension and understanding.
Yeah, these wonderful long curls coming down the side of his beard. Like you couldn't mistake who he is.
Hopefully, the difference between Judaism, the spirituality, the religion, the servitude, and subservience to God, and the antithetical concept of Zionism, which is
so this is the amazing question: how can you be Messiah to everybody? Doing what? No, what is it doing?
A goal for nationalism, and which is something forbidden clearly and distinctly by the Torah. Judaism requires of the Jewish people to be humble, to be loyal citizens in every country in where they're residing. Zionism started 100 years ago, and from its inception, from its beginning, all the rabbinical authorities were in opposition only because of the Holocaust, the death of so many leaders, that the Jews unfortunately fell prey to the power of Zionism.
Holocaust supporters.
And they became leaderless.
Lovely people, huh? Bullshit.
They didn't have people to lead up. The few leaders that did.
So he already knows. He's probably read Irving's book.
Of course he does. He was holding back from the other guy. He knows it all.
And pro-Zionism as untold many.
But he's also got all these scholars that can research these things themselves, would come across David Irving's work.
Yeah, absolutely. Irving's been at it for over 40 years.
What's that lovely other German's name?
Zundel.
Unfortunately, fell prey to Zionism simply because of the
now, I'm thinking about
of their lost relatives and things like that have made them fall prey to this onslaught of propaganda. But it's not Judaism.
I'm thinking about what Jim Stone
that the president should be
wrote. He spent 2 years in the Jewish community, going to their synagogue.
Thousands and thousands, and just untold numbers.
What's his conclusion?
They're all up front. They go to, first of all, they make sure that there are no strangers. And because he'd been going for some time, they began to relax with him, and he was taking some kind of lessons or something. And so, bottom line is they let their guard down. But if there's strangers there, it's just strictly a worship service. They make sure there's no strangers there, then they get right down to business. And he said every single man, woman and child has an assignment. And so it's like a board meeting where you're up to at your assignments, and they discuss the ways and means of how each one, what kind of help they need to go about their assignments of bringing about the Jew world domination. And you remember me reading the story how they tried to kill him by poisoning him when he left the synagogue, and they realised that he was not one of them. That's all on his website. He wrote about it. So it's all subterfuge language, all deception, and he said straight up, the synagogue is a front, it's a ruse. Of course, this was back in Canada that he was going to the end with 2 years. He calls it, I infiltrated. So he wrote from first-hand experience.
Well, I went into a synagogue, and because when I said my name was Marshall, I naturally assumed I was a Jew. Because, you know, they're big in movie business. And I went in, and the lady asked what I was like to see, and I said I wanted to look at the Talmud. And I couldn't look at the whole Talmud, I had to nominate a page. So I nominated a page. She then looked it up, took a photostat copy of it, then gave it to the rabbi. He kept a copy. He approved it, and she then copied it off the wrong side of the page. Right. Which was a complete and utter condemnation of the Western world and how they was going to do it in the Talmud.
Yes.
So she thought I was getting the other side, which has been approved, which is a bunch of rubbish. How many grapes you can eat?
Yes. All the laws, rules, statutes, codes, policies, procedures, like the 60 million of them in the Western world now, throughout the USA and Western nations. The Pharisees were lawyers, weren't they?
Yeah. Now in my little PowerPoint I start with my age on the 31st of August, which lines up with Jupiter in returning from its retrograde. And I was 2424 days old. And I worked that in weeks and years and so forth. And the stars overhead, including Pluto, which has now been taken off the list, but it was on the list then, they total 5454. And I'll put that in the PowerPoint. So what's the odds that I'd be 24 days old when Mary takes me back into a vision where I step through time, space, into a reality that I had forgotten completely, the other reality existed. I was just a kid sitting on the synagogue steps as Jesus, little boy. Same little boy as I was in this life.
Yes.
And she calls me. So we now know exactly where that was because of the height. But the synagogue was on the highest point, coming at the small town of Nazareth, which is the number on
3478. Now I just clicked on Jim Stone and it opened up new series of articles outlining my experience with the Jewish community. And he goes, I'll just read this a little. He says, I was originally holding off to write a book about this, but things are simply too hectic for such a time-consuming task, and hopefully with a new subject covered on a regular basis, I'll eventually get to all topics I would put in a book. My approach to the Jewish community was honest, and I really did leave in disgust after being exposed to the real truth. Starting in earnest about a year and a half in, and totally blown open at about the 2-year mark, because I approached these people with serious intent to learn and become one. What you will see in these reports is likely to be from a different perspective than anything you have seen before, and also far more accurate. I will quote no references because none are needed. And he says, and now here is the first one. And the Jews have set a goal of destroying the value of every printed library in Western civilization. If you have ever visited libraries in the past, back in the 80s, you would know that even a modest public library, you could find every book you needed to understand all aspects of the sciences. You would have been able to find accurate history, all the information gained from the nuclear tests, the truth about EMPs and nuclear tsunamis, all the works of all the great writers, all the musical compositions and scores for all of the great musicians, detailed maps of every square inch of the earth, all of the local laws and codes, all of the electronic theory, of all of the formulas for organic chemistry, all of the engineering information for the different types of steel, all the children's manuals for automotive repair, every last topic about astronomy and astrophysics. Folks, it does not take a lot of books to cover all those topics and far more. I can't think of them all. Everything even a modest public library, which, for example, a small city of 10,000 people would have had 20 years ago, or should I say 30, because starting in the late mid-80s, our libraries went under attack to annihilate their face value as a reference base for Western civilization. Their destruction was deliberate. That's why we have Wikipedia today, the reference source for all knowledge, controlled by Israel.
Absolutely.
I'm an inquisitive type who would actually use the libraries in the past, and it was never any problem to get detailed information. I can't even begin to tell you what types of things I would look for. For example, when developing a new type of bug killer lamp, it worked great. I was able to find the exact light spectrums of the various mercury vapor lamps. I could set out to find a fact, and everything I ever set out to look for would always be in any library. I know I am unique in the type of things I would look for, and therefore can serve as the library canary, giving the signal of doom. I knew the libraries were turning to garbage, but could not figure out why. That is until my experience with the Jewish community. And now, even in cities with populations of 1 million plus, I can't find Jack. I can't get a single question answered. Only the most basics of basic are there. The libraries have been stripped of real value and replaced with fluff. Fluff like 94,000 feminist books, books about gaydom, alternative religion, New Age BS, 93 trillion ridiculous self-help books, aisle after aisle of fiction and fantasy, and virtually nothing of value with regard to what was once the fabric of Western civilization. Any book with any science at all has the science buried under volumes of convoluted text, obviously intended to confuse. What once would be found within a few minutes now takes hours or days, if it can be found at all, or at least before frustration drives me out the door. Now, information which was once free to the public has become quarantined for access only to the discreet few willing to pay thousands for that information via college textbooks. And I have seen enough of those to know that even they are now intentionally convoluted and watered down. And then in bold text, it was intentional. The Jews made it a huge point. The value of having your hard printed library. And even poor Jews have enormous hardbound libraries in their homes. Jews will spend enormous piles of money on hard printed works because they know that hard print cannot be changed via an online update. And the only solid record of fact is a printed book. And while building their own private libraries, they set out to destroy the public libraries accessible to any non-Jews. They got into all the library staffs and made the decisions of which books got thrown and which books got kept. If you go to any public library, you will discover that somewhere in each library there will be a Jew making the decisions of what will be in that library. Go to the dumpster out back. I have done this as part of my investigations of the Jews following leaving them. And even in little old Bakersfield, I witnessed an enormous number of great books going out through the dumpster, with absolutely nothing of value replacing them inside the library. When I was in Vancouver, after leaving the Jewish community, I visited the library there and found a lot of the good books still in place, only to discover that key pages were consistently ripped out of many of the best ones. And it was not vandals or geeks, because vandals don't care about technical drawings, and geeks know what a copier is, and also have a lot of respect for written books. I, of course, had the advantage of knowing Jews were doing this to our libraries, and checked the dumpsters and pulled key work to see what new atrocity had been committed on a fairly regular basis. The next is the internet has changed. Once upon a time, you could go to Alta Vista, type in any scientific fact you wanted to know, and boom, it would be on your screen. It was like a library on steroids. But after Google, that changed. Google buries all truthfully technical information behind a paywall, and even Alta Vista now does as well. So unless you plan to spend hundreds or thousands buying technical writings in the hopes that one nugget will be there, chances are it will not. The internet has now been rendered totally useless as a scientific reference tool. So they first destroyed the libraries and then destroyed the web, and if you think Wikipedia is great, you've got a lot of learning to do. Via the destruction of our information base, the Jews have made an enormous step towards gaining our rightful future. It's no secret our schools have been destroyed, and it's no secret our kids are now graduating with honours while not being able to think or even knowing the basics. We are about to be made irrelevant as a civilization. There is still a key pool of 50-plus-year-old engineers who got real educations, who are designing CPUs and whatever else was at the pinnacle of our society. As far as technical advancement, there are enough of these people from America's great past still in the system to hide the damage that has been done. They won't be there forever, and when they are gone, we will suffer a collapse more enormous than the world has ever witnessed. And arising from the ashes of that collapse will be the Jews, with all of our works carefully preserved within their homes and private libraries, and with their children carefully educated with our advanced knowledge, they will rise up to the top. Our civilization, with its great technical reference base destroyed and children intentionally sabotaged, will slip into irrelevance. Once again, the Israeli snipers killing American soldiers video has been disabled. He's had that video up. He keeps putting it up because it keeps coming down. And
we've got a copy of it.
Pardon?
We've got a copy of it, haven't we?
Oh, we've watched it, yeah. Now, he's got your own little hollow net. This was posted before being finished because the sniper videos got messed with and will be finished soon because it is an important topic. If you think your posting to forums is getting seen all the time, you are wrong. If you think that what you do on the web is as it appears, you are wrong. The ability to totally fake an internet based specifically around you, your accounts, your processor IP, etc., is fully in place. The end game is to get everyone surfing the web in their own little Truman show, so that people really are not connecting when they think they are, and their voice is forever silenced, though for all appearances online, it looks as if all is well. They are in the first phases of this right now. It started in earnest about a year ago, as far as I can perceive, with the test run starting about 3 years ago. It is time to speak up about this and get an awareness of it out there, because if they manage to pull this off, there'll be no way to fight it. The deleted YouTube video scam is one aspect of this, where YouTube claims the video was removed by the user to anyone who hits a site that linked it. All the while, whoever runs the site sees it acting perfectly normal on their own screen, even though to others it is totally screwed. This is not the same as a locally cached file, because the problem is a genuine video switch on YouTube's server that has recorded everyone's IP and will identify the original individual who embedded the video and serve him the video as he intended, while either showing a deleted video or one that has been switched for anyone with a different IP. This is a serious and sinister development which must be addressed immediately. Alternate internet, how about 1.7 billion alternates, all tracked by NSA supercomputer that we have all been told gets all of our traffic put through it and recorded already. It's child's play to have a system like that play switcheroo and create for everyone their own little internet universe. And this is how they are going to destroy free speech. The new NSA data center going into Utah, right at the point of the mountain where parasailers drift lazily in the breeze, is the beginning of the end of freedom on the web. It will be equipped with multiple yottabytes of data storage, enough to cache the entire internet well over 100 times, and far more than enough to create a fake little online shell world for every man, woman and child on Earth. Within your little world, you will be posting to forums, setting up websites, living your life, and if you're a dissenter, it will not be seen by anyone. You will be posting to and receiving responses from chills and bots and not even know it. All will be fine as far as you can see, and all will be irrelevant, totally unbeknownst to you.
Brilliant.
Even my forum can take a plug-in module that remembers a poster's IP and system configuration, and my server, not even an NSA server, can keep track of an individual and let their posts be seen by them mixed in with everyone else's posts, yet no one other than the poster can see it. This is happening far more frequently than people realise, and I believe the attacks on my forum are using a system of this type to keep posters in the dark about what they have posted, not being visible to anyone, yet being visible to themselves. They would probably wonder why nothing they post generates any response from anyone. And heck, there are probably shills at the ready and battles getting fought right on my own forum that I cannot see myself. This is the future we face. It's already here. This article, when done, will contain...
Well, you can't beat a phone call, huh? Or Skyping live, face to face. That's what the answer is. You see a minute out the other day? Yeah, it's great, isn't it? That beats it. You just use the technology to do face to face talk. This is what you're telling them, face to face. Well, they're going to offend you. It's an impossibility. And you can verify whether you said it or not. So you'll know what's going on. So you're talking to Adam on the phone. Did you see that? What did you see on your end? Well, you were saying you didn't like Hitler. Well, it's a lie. And you can verify it back and forth. So person to person has got to be, basically. The Jews can't outmaneuver that. We know what they're doing, right? So maybe we'll just take the technology and use it for ourselves. The idiots that give us a key to kill them. I haven't met a Jew in life. Even the good ones have bad politics. But then again, I haven't had a luck with Christians either. Or atheists. Or the West at all. Now, Ahmadinejad, it's just brilliant what he does and what he says. He's an academic, he knows where they're coming from. So he has inherited the soul of Muhammad. So it's got to be somewhere. But we know where you are, you know where I am. So,
okay, this article, when done, will contain block diagrams showing you how the system of deception works, and will give you ways to at least know this is happening to you, even if you cannot stop it. Knowing it is happening is 90% of the battle. Not knowing causes people to flail in futility and make them waste their lives on nothing at all. I refuse to use such software myself. I will confront people head on and ban them if needed, letting them waste their lives in a futile fight with a dishonest machine set against them by a scamming admin, in my opinion, one step short of killing them outright. No, I'll never do that. I simply tell them to move along. I really do not know how long it is going to take me to finish those 2 reports. those are the type that absolutely eat time. I'm fighting too many wars right now. I hope I'll be able to finish them soon, but at least the introductions can serve as a heads up. Once again, I'm not getting the messages people send. For an explanation to why I get hacked, consider September 30th post. They hate that one. The most important document ever produced by this website is nuclear sabotage at Fukushima.
Syria is a huge flashpoint at the moment in the Middle East. There is a belief that a lot of the Assad military are using weapons they've got from Iran. Is that true? And how long will you continue to support Assad, given the appalling conditions, the humanitarian catastrophe that we are all watching? At what point?
War zone is propaganda. They're talking, it's absolutely happening.
When people talk of freedom, and I've heard you talk of freedom, they look at Iran and they say that there are still laws banning homosexuality. You have a law that bans single women from going skiing on their own. And they say, what kind of freedom is that if people can't be gay because they were born that way, or they can't go skiing as a single woman? What do you say to the critics?
Now, you have managed to mix a number of things here. For a single lady to go on a trip to go skiing, is that forbidden in Iran? Who has told you that?
It's not forbidden?
I'm hearing it from you.
It has been widely reported that you brought in a rule that said single women couldn't go skiing. Are you now telling me they can?
I'm hearing it from you, sir, for the very first time.
So to clarify, Mr. President, if a single woman from Iran is watching this interview, she can go skiing on
Idiot,
her own.
asking the same question of something he doesn't know nothing about.
Of course they see this program because it's broadcast in Iran.
Right, so it is perfectly okay. You are happy
Allow me, sir.
for single women to go skiing.
Allow me. Homosexuality is a completely different topic. This kind of support of homosexuality is only ingrained in the thoughts of hardcore capitalists and those who support the growth of capital only, rather than human values. According to all prophets and all religions and all faiths, homosexuality is strictly forbidden. It is a very ugly behavior. How can you, in order to obtain 4 or 5 additional votes or to make a party more popular than the other, how can you give support to such behavior? So when I say freedom, allow me, sir, allow me.
Do you believe that homosexual people are they born homosexual, or do they become homosexual? What do you believe?
They become. At the end of the day, they do become that way. I'm not seeking the root causes of it, though. You see, the problems that are facing humanity today are much deeper than whether a single lady goes skiing or not. There are many reforms yet to take place. Many reforms, as of yet to be realized. In the United States, 50 million people live in poverty. Is America a poor country? They're human beings too. Each one of them is a complete human being with many hopes and aspirations and dreams. Throughout the world, 1.2 billion people live in utter poverty. Dictatorships do exist. Oppression exists. Denying human dignity exists, unfortunately. All of this must be reformed. Humans must feel like
when I hear you say this, Mr. President,
feel freedom.
I like you speaking like this. This is great. But shouldn't freedom and individuality and all those things also extend to people who just happen to be gay, who were born gay? They weren't made gay. Wouldn't it be great for the President of Iran to say, you know something? Everyone's entitled to be whatever sexuality They are born to be. That would be a great symbol of freedom.
Do you really believe that someone is born homosexual?
Yes, I absolutely believe that. Yes, I do.
I'm sorry, let me ask you this. Do you believe that anyone is given birth to through homosexuality? Homosexuality ceases procreation. Who has said that if you like or believe in doing something ugly and others do not accept your behavior, they're denying your freedom?
You are a
Who
father.
says that?
Mr. President, Mr. President,
Perhaps in a country they wish to legitimize stealing.
You are a father of three. You are a father of three.
For a few percentage of them,
You have two sons and a daughter. What would you do if one of them was gay?
these things have different ways. The proper education must be given. The education system must be revamped. The political system must be revamped. And these must be also reformed and revamped along the way. But if a group recognizes an ugly behavior or ugly deed as legitimate, you must not expect other countries or other groups to give it the same recognition. This is an imposition of your will, sir.
How would you feel if one of your children dated a Jew?
I would have to see who that Jewish man or woman would be. I see love amongst people as completely acceptable. There are many Jews living in Iran with whom we're very close. There are some Muslims that marry into Jewish families or marry Christians. We have no such problems.
See, people will be surprised. People will be surprised you say that, Mr. President. They will like you for saying that.
Of course, I think none of us should represent the whole population of the United States. But we believe that color, religion, native tongue, ethnic background should create differences or distances between people, nor should it be the sole reason to bring people closer together. It has always been like this.
When we come back, a question I can promise you, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad has never been asked before. Just wait till you hear how he answers it. I ask every guest one question. I'm going to ask you, just because I'm amused by your response. How many times in your life, Mr. President, have you been properly in love? I ask every guest one question. I'm going to ask you, just because I'm amused by your response. How many times in your life, Mr. President, have you been properly in love?
I'm in love with all humanity. I love all human beings.
That might be the best
In
answer.
particular, I love members of my own family, of course, like any other human being.
That's probably the best answer I've had to that question. You can't beat the whole of humanity. Mr. President, thank you for your time.
But what do you think of our man?
God bless you. I wish you success.
Thank
Is
you,
he
sir.
wonderful or not?
That's all
He's
for
a Mahdi.
tomorrow. Another leader who's been around the world. I sit down with former President Bill Clinton to talk about his post-White House mission.